Sophie struggled to acclimate to her newfound widowhood, finding it a burdensome weight to bear at the tender age of 25. The circumstances surrounding her situation only added to her difficulty in accepting her new reality. She attempted to come to terms with the inexplicable changes that had tumultuously unfolded in her life over the past few months. First, she had tragically lost her father, and more recently, her husband Cole had chosen to depart from this world voluntarily. Such sorrowful occurrences left her utterly perplexed. Nonetheless, no one attempted to console the young widow or elucidate the reasons behind these unfortunate events. Sophie was left to grapple with her anguish in solitude. The only solace she found was in the companionship of her feline confidant, Botsman, who tirelessly endeavored to alleviate the loneliness plaguing his mistress. As Sophie reminisced about her beloved pet, she hopped onto the elevator, where she encountered her neighbor from the 6th floor. To her surprise, the woman suddenly inquired, "Did you collect the mail?" Sophie, taken aback, responded, "What mail? Nowadays, everyone communicates through text messages." The neighbor persisted, "There has been an envelope sitting in your mailbox for days. Did you not notice?" Perplexed, Sophie inquired, "How did you come to know this?" The neighbor explained, "The postmistress joined me 2 days ago to distribute the mail. She too expressed astonishment over the fading practice of traditional correspondence. She mentioned that now only the courts and the IRS predominantly rely on snail mail. This led me to believe that there may be an important message waiting for you. Hence, I decided to call your attention to this overlooked fact." The attentive neighbor ventured onto her floor, and Sophie irritably pressed the 1 button. Once back on the 1st floor, she unlocked her mailbox. A slim ivory envelope unexpectedly leaped into her grasp. The sight of it nearly overwhelmed her senses. The entirety of the envelope was filled out in Cole's handwriting. Sophie was intimately acquainted with her husband's penmanship. Such a surge of emotions flooded her that her heart raced uncontrollably, causing her to exclaim aloud, "God, this is some kind of omen. Today is the 9th day. Cole is gone, and here I am holding his message in my hands." An inner voice persistently whispered to the widow that this letter was out of the ordinary, thus the landing wasn't the most suitable place to linger, exposing it to prying eyes. Sophie concealed the envelope and retreated into the elevator car. Upon arriving home, she refrained from immediately unveiling its contents. The letter from her deceased husband seared her palms and instilled fear within her. Nonetheless, the enigmatic message consumed her every thought. For several minutes, she anxiously fixated on the blank canvas of the white rectangle. However, the enigmatic anticipation proved even more daunting than what might be contained within Cole's final missive. With determination, she broke the seal of the envelope, only to emit a blood-curdling scream at the very first line of the letter. "My beloved princess, if you're reading this letter, it means I'm no longer alive. There are numerous things I wish to share with you, but time is running out. Memories of our times together flood my mind, particularly the moments when we sat side by side in the lecture hall. Sophie, do you remember how we used to share our notes? I believe we may still have them. Your father was right. You'll come to realize that in due course. I deeply regret causing you pain. I love you, and I've loved only you all along. Please, don't believe everything you hear about me." This concludes the message. However, even in these brief lines penned by your beloved, they conveyed the most crucial truth. In his final moments, his thoughts were solely of you. Sophie screamed like a wounded tigress, overwhelmed with an almost physical anguish. Only now did the realization hit her that Cole would never reach out again. He would never tease her about her inability to get out of bed, nor share in her fascination with mysticism. They would never embark on leisurely walks to the lake, where 2 majestic swans stood tall on the mirrored waters. All such cherished moments would never come to pass again. Sophie cried for hours, feeling like a defenseless little girl. surrounded by not a single soul to offer solace or words of encouragement. Less than a year had slipped by since her father had passed under peculiar circumstances, and now Cole, too, was gone. Reflecting on the sequence of events over the past several months, Sophie began to piece together that the two unfortunate incidents were linked in some way. After dinner, Cole and her father would vanish into the study, locking the door behind them, and engross themselves in an intense dialogue. Naturally, they kept their conversations secret, and Sophie, respecting their privacy, never pried into the reasons behind their heated debates. Fate had evidently decreed that her father would play the central role in her life. From a young age, Sophie grew accustomed to the fact that in their little family, the man's word was final. After childbirth, her mother had succumbed to sepsis, a tragedy rooted in the incompetence of an inexperienced physician. This failed healer received a mere 4-year prison sentence, forever robbing Sophie of a mother's love and care. Her father stepped up, striving to fill both parental roles, and he excelled at it. Although he seldom spoke of the hardships he endured, the pride he took in his daughter's successes was unabashedly evident. Whenever guests, albeit rarely, visited their home, he would eagerly exhibit Sophie's diary. He had named her after the beloved Lady Day, and he boasted with confidence that his daughter more than lived up to the name, affirming she was a true princess. The visitors nodded in agreement, some out of courtesy not to offend him, others genuinely believing she bore a resemblance to the illustrious member of the royal family. Sophie cherished the attention she received from adults, yet she never took undue advantage of it. At school, she blended in with her classmates, never putting herself above them, and her father never burdened her with unrealistic expectations. In fact, she longed above all else to see her father happy. "Dad, why are you giving up on your romantic life? Surely there must be a woman out there who could bring you happiness." Ethan always sidestepped the conversation or cracked a joke in response. "Daughter, I've experienced so much joy solely with you that it could be savored with a spoon. Besides, it's too late for me to embark on the journey of building a family ship. I'll only have time to construct a dinghy." Later, Sophie came to understand that her father had remained loyal to the one woman he had loved throughout his entire life. Perhaps he had brief flings, which she had suspected during her school years, but he never introduced another woman into their home. The daughter knew very little about her father's occupation. Ethan held a prominent position in the department responsible for conserving nature. Each month, he would bring home a mountain of folders, toiling over them until the early hours. Sophie felt a sense of empathy for her father, and one day she made a suggestion. "Daddy, why do you torment yourself? The computer could handle your reports much quicker. What does this cold-hearted contraption comprehend? I have no faith in robots. I can inform you about every numeric digit, but this hunk of metal isn't capable of such matters." After such dialogues, Ethan, lacking civility, dismissed his daughter from the premises. Only Cole was permitted to enter his office. The men swiftly discovered a shared understanding, which brought delight to Sophie. They frequently embarked on fishing escapades with overnight stays, and once embarked on a photo pursuit, resulting in a diverse collection of unparalleled images. It was following this incident that the men formed a strong bond. Cole often sought counsel from his father-in-law on matters concerning nature preservation and ecology. Being employed at a local newspaper, he relished crafting articles on pressing subjects. When the men began to lock themselves away in Ethan's office, Sophie realized that their interests had intertwined. However, she did not feel apprehensive at that time. Her unease only arose once, when she heard Cole's exclamation from beyond the closed door. "Ethan, surrender is not an option. We must explore alternative methods of influencing this gang. You fully understand that constructing a factory in that location is out of the question." Sophie missed her father's response entirely, as she had given little heed to their dialogue at that moment. It was only a short time afterward that Ethan tragically perished in an odd accident. His vehicle collided with a bridge pillar. The initial autopsy reported that at the moment of the crash, he had been incapacitated by a severe heart attack. Her father had never once lamented about heart issues and was known for maintaining a robust and wholesome lifestyle. Thus, the medical findings astounded both Cole and Sophie. The young man insisted on a second opinion, yet was gently urged to temper his fervor. One evening, an unexpected call came through. Cole engaged in a heated exchange with the mysterious caller, declaring firmly at the conclusion, "I will pursue this to the very end, whatever the expense." This phone conversation seemed to fracture something in their marital life as well. Cole grew silent, increasingly agitated by Sophie's tender gestures. Merely days before his own untimely demise, he began packing a travel bag. Sophie, overwhelmed and desperate, positioned herself resolutely at the doorway. "Cole, what is happening? Could you please clarify things for me?" Her husband tenderly caressed her cheek. "Sweetheart, I'll explain everything later, but trust me, I need to leave now." "Cole, be straight with me. Are you seeing someone else? Have you stopped loving me?" "Oh, don't be absurd. There are more pressing matters in life than just love." Gently, Cole lifted his wife, positioning her like a statue in the center of the hallway. Sophie listened as his footsteps faded away, tears streaming down her face. Then certainty struck her. Her husband had indeed fallen for another woman. A sense of pride stopped her from reaching out to her husband. However, after several days, anxiety gnawed at her, prompting her to dial his number. She was met with an automated female voice. "The person you are trying to reach is currently unavailable. Please try again later." It was through a random glance at a crime news report that she stumbled upon the truth about her husband's demise. Initially, the news about a young man's body discovered in the forest near the cottage community did not register with her. But as she looked closer, she grasped the calamity that had befallen Cole. Sophie replayed the events of the past few days in her head. Suddenly, a thought blazed through her mind. Why did my spouse mention student records in his most recent communication? It surely wasn't an accident. It served as a clear signal to me. Startled, she hastily rose from the bed. All superfluous documents were meticulously organized and stored on the mezzanine. Consequently, the young woman swiftly unearthed a stack of substantial notebooks. Secreted among them was a slender folder housing pertinent documents. A swift perusal sufficed to comprehend the contents of these papers. Without waiting for daybreak, Sophie dialed Cooper's number. One of her father's acquaintances worked in the investigative committee, and she was convinced that the discovered documents would aid in unraveling this perplexing case. Sophie's intuition proved correct. Cooper reignited the investigation, culminating in the revelation that her spouse and father had paid the ultimate price for endeavoring to avert the catastrophe. A wealthy individual, previously associated with criminal activities, illicitly procured land in the protected area, where he intended to construct a noxious factory. This entrepreneur spared no expense in realizing his malicious plan, which imperiled the well-being of thousands. When two opponents of this development obstructed his path, he opted to eradicate them. However, it was a heartfelt farewell letter from the young journalist to his beloved wife that aided in unraveling this intricate case. 2 months had flown by, and Sophie found herself in the graveyard once more. Before her lay the resting places of her beloved family. "Dad, Cole," she murmured, "I've brought your fight to a close. Justice has prevailed." And Sophie wept. It had been ages since she shed a tear, but now a light, gentle one escaped her eye.